What is up, everyone? Welcome to another podcast, another Big Sis podcast. I'm Big Sis Val, and
I'm Big Sis Ange.
Today we have a good topic. We're going to talk about how to be more open-minded, right? And this is a pretty general topic, but what's the first thing that comes to mind for you when you think of open-minded people?
When I think of open-minded people, I think like right off the bat, a lot of people take being open-minded hand in hand with being judgmental. So I believe that you can either be one or the other, right? And most people feel like most people are judgmental, so it's kind of hard to find an open-minded. But I really think that the people that are quote unquote called judgmental they have their own beliefs per se, which doesn't make them wrong, but in their mind they're right. So
Yeah.
I do think that when you're trying to be open-minded, you have to consider that when you're having conversations. If someone believes something, and that's when arguments tend to happen or disagreements, because you're trying to shift their beliefs, which some people are open to doing that.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And I really like how you said that people are kind of in their own ways, or they have their own perception or
Mhm.
their own reality, right? So
Yeah.
like my reality is completely different from your reality.
Yeah.
And if I maybe judge your situation based off of my perception and my morals and my beliefs and, the way I was brought up, then, it might have a different outcome. We might not be on the same page.
Yeah.
Communication could be lost. So I really like how you came from a place where you can't really judge. You kind of have to be neutral almost,
Yeah.
from your beliefs and from their beliefs, and just to kind of be open-minded about, their beliefs and your beliefs, meeting together and kind of finding a happy medium, I guess,
Yeah.
even if you don't agree with it.
Yeah, because I always think that everyone's always in a battle of who's right, if you're in one of those arguments, discussions, whatever, no one is ever going to be right. And they're just going to be like built up tension on this subject just for kind of like when the elections were going, it's just so much tension, but no one was going to alter anyone's beliefs anymore.
Yeah.
And you have to identify, okay, at what point do I stop trying to shift someone's beliefs, or at what point do I even begin having this discussion anyway?
Yes. Yeah, 100%. Because and I remember when I would hear people, saying their opinion with the elections and whatnot, I would just completely bite my tongue and just stay neutral and just, as much as possible. But every now and then I'd be like, no, because protesters are like yelling, and I'm like, no, you know what? But then I'm like, stay neutral, because I probably don't know all the facts. I probably think I do, but you know what I mean? And it wasn't like worth it enough for me to like correct them or correct that sentence just because I want to be right in that situation. I was like, hey, just think about it from like an outside like picture, and like if you were to be looking at the situation, you'd be like, come on. Or any like whenever you have road rage and like people get out of the car and like try to square you up. It's like, I mean, I've never had that happen to me before, but I've seen it, and it's just like, I'm like, really?
Yeah,
Just like,
I have to go that far.
yeah, I don't know. So I mean, you just don't know what the other person is going through, or what what their beliefs are.
And I do think also you brought up a good point. You don't really know what someone's going through, so sometimes it's not even worth it to try to be right in those arguments and those discussions. I personally, what I would give as a tip is obviously be in a neutral position and be able to hear someone out before you speak, because most people, when they're listening, they're not truly listening. They're just waiting for their opportunity to speak and say what they already were thinking about or whatever. They're not listening to you. So
yeah,
open ears before you open your mouth.
open your ears before you open your mouth. That should be like a beginning of a song or something.
Hey, you sounded like a rap girl. What?
Oh shoot! New album dropping soon. Okay, open your ears before you open your mouth. Oh gosh, you guys heard it first here on Big Sis podcast.
What other things come to your mind when you think about being open-minded?
Yeah. So I guess not having a closed mind. Just because, just because, like, people are so set in their ways. And I remember I came across, just like a few, like, for example, here, I'll just throw it out there because it's kind of like not normal, right? It's not in like a normal day-to-day society. I came across somebody who I knew, and they had like multiple like wives or girlfriends or whatever, and I was like, which is fine, right? And I have my own beliefs. This person next to me has their own beliefs, right? And it was off of, just like, friends of a friend. And I was just kind of like sitting back observing, and I was like having an open mind about it, right? I wasn't trying to be like, oh, like, well, and let me correct you in your ways, and let me, I was just like sitting back, and I was just like, okay, you know, seeing how they do their relationships. And I'm like, and then some of them have been very successful for like over 15 years, and I'm like,
Wow.
Interesting. So I mean, that's all I'm going to say about that. But point is like, I was, I wasn't aware, I guess, of that kind of relationship, like, trend or whatever. So, but I didn't judge, and I was just like, okay. And they made it work for, whatever reason. And they're making it work. Still happen till this day. And I'm like, that's pretty interesting. And that's pretty cool, that you have so much, I guess, like, what's the word I'm saying? Boldness or braveness to put yourself out there like that. And then I started looking at the positives about the situation. I was like, well, look, they're freaking like just putting themselves out there, exposing themselves, not caring what other people think, and living their life happily. And I started looking at the positives, and I was like, cool, like they've been successful for 15 plus years, and they must be doing something right. So cool for them. And I was just like, cool.
Yeah, fear of judgment.
Open-minded.
Yeah,
I'm like open-minded.
I know it's so hard sometimes though, because I've been in positions like that too, where I'm like, okay, this like really tests my morals, my standards, like my values, and it's a little difficult to kind of get past that, but you have to look past it. Like you said, you have to kind of evaluate the positiveness that comes from whatever they're doing. And just because they're doing it doesn't mean you have to be doing it, but let them live their lives. Like they're letting you live theirs, so yours. So there's no point of just sitting around and just judging people, I guess. And I don't know, I've struggled with that too in the past, and I feel like a lot of people think I'm like judging, but I'm like, no, it's just like an internal battle I'm having with myself. Like I'm not trying to project it on you because I don't say anything, but I'm sure my faces show otherwise sometimes.
Like,
I'm like, I swear I don't care.
you're like, I just have no comments.
Yeah.
Well, that's good.
But it's true though, because it's like, I mean, I can't comment positive things because I'm not seeing it that way at the moment. But later, like you said, after the fact, will sit there and evaluate. I'm like, wow, that characteristic is truly admirable from that person. Like they can be bold, they can be courageous, and I'm over here scared about posting a picture or whatever. It's just the same kind of concept, and it's like always self-projecting, I think.
Yeah, and I really like how you kind of take a little bit of that situation with you, like a little learning experience. Like at first, not gonna lie, like I was like my facial expressions were kind of just like judgmental, and I was catching myself, and I was like really looking at it, and I was like, why? What? I don't know that how their life is. I don't know them, what they've been through. Like who am I to be like, oh, like, that's not right. Like what the heck? So I was like, and then afterwards, I kind of went through a stage afterwards. I went through acceptance, and I was like, okay. And then I found the good in it, and I took a little bit of that with me, and I was like, okay, cool, open-minded now. Like I'm that much more open about whatever else comes my way, I guess. I don't know. You know what I mean, though? Like I was just like, okay, it kind of opened a little door, and now like I have, I don't know how to explain it. It just
No, I like that because now you said it out loud. I feel like you're exposing yourself to more. So now when you see someone else or you hear someone else that is in that sort of predicament, you can be like, oh, that's normal. Like, I've seen that before. You won't have those same facial expressions you did, you know?
Yes, I'll be more like, interesting. More like accepting.
Yeah, I'd be like, oh, okay, like, I've seen that before. I'm good.
Yeah, exactly. Or I don't know. It's just kind of like nothing really like surprises me at this point, you know? Like I'm
Exactly.
just like, okay.
Yeah, I feel like the more you expose yourself, the easier it is for you to be open-minded, because that's where I feel like a lot of people struggle with, because they only see this, you know, just like what's in their vision, but they like forget to see like the macro of the life, you know. While we hear that.
Yeah. No,
Yeah, but
exactly. You're exactly right. You know, if you live in a very closed-minded mindset, you're probably closing a lot of doors, a lot of opportunities, whether they're uncomfortable opportunities or amazing opportunities. Like, it's worth it, I guess, just because you're exposed to that. Exposure is, you know, honestly, exposure is, I think, always good, whether it's like bad situation or like a, you know, hostile situation. I think
yeah,
regardless, you'll learn from it regardless. Like, you have to, you know?
you know, that made me think like recently we were kind of exposing ourselves to like real life scenarios, self-defense kind of stuff at my class.
Yes.
And like I noticed like some of the girls there were like very emotional about it, and just like almost like borderline crying, because they were like almost can feel that fear of like something really going down, you know. And
So
I was thinking to myself, well, they feel that way because this is literally the first time they would even like picture themselves in this situation. But if they were to expose themselves repetitively in this situation, even though it's not real, it's like, you know, make believe stuff, then at some point they'll be able to feel that sort of quote unquote comfortability. If it ever were to happen, they'd be like, oh shit, okay, now I know what to do, rationalize, you know, figure it out, versus like being stuck in this fear state.
wow. Yeah. I like that. Yeah, because I actually had an experience where like I was approached by somebody, and it never got any far where there was like any kind of attack, luckily, but it definitely scared me. You know, it definitely, and I was just frozen like a deer in headlights. Like, I did not even know how to process it. I was like, what just happened? Luckily the guy ran off, and you know, I ended up locking my door and calling the cops and calling my mom and everything. And but yeah, like, but like having that experience, like I bet you like the next time anything were to like happen, and maybe I'm in a parking lot and I'm just like super sketched out, like I'm that much more ready, I'm that much more like alert, just
Yeah,
because I had that experience, you know.
yeah, yeah. I like that. I think the key to take away from today is definitely be okay and open-minded to expose yourself to things that you may not necessarily agree with or like, because
Uncomfortable.
yeah, sometimes these beliefs that we make up in our head come from like other outside influences, like your parents, like your teacher,
Yeah.
friends, whatever. But truthfully, you don't know how you really feel about them until you're fully exposed, you know?
Expose.
what,
I like that.
what are your final thoughts on this, Val?
I think you pretty much, you know, put the, what's the saying, put the cat in the bag. No, I don't know.
I like
I think you pretty much wrapped it up. I'm like, what's the saying? Exposure. Just don't be afraid of putting yourself out there, exposing yourself with responsibility, of course. You know, always listen to your gut. But yeah, just try not to be so hard-headed, so like narrow focused, and live your life, blossom.
Hey, I like that. Well, as always, guys, thanks so much for having us today and being with us. Well, we'll see you guys on the next podcast. But before I close out, remember, we have an we have an email address. If you guys need to reach us, have questions, find us at bigsisquestion@gmail.com.
Yeah.
Next one.